Hey everybody, failed entrepreneur back again early in the morning, so a little more subdued video than normal. But it is actually April 1st as I record. I'm not going to do a prank. That is low hanging fruit, and I got better things to do. So sorry, no pranks from me. But since it is Corona week, Corona themed week, I guess, wanted to keep that ball rolling with another video. Just kind of looking forward as to what life is going to look like after this all goes away, right? So I am a history teacher by profession, and one of the reasons that we study and learn from history is, I always say, and others do too, right? It's a good crystal ball to try and predict the future, right? By better understanding the past, you have a better idea of what might be coming ahead. And so I don't think there's going to be major changes. Sky's not falling like a lot of people say. Just look at the Spanish flu, the influenza from 1918, 1920s, and you'll see that life seemed to get back on pretty quickly. So I think that's probably what we're dealing with here. But that said, there are still some long-term ramifications I see coming from this that are kind of going to be inescapable. This is a big a world event. This is a big, I hate saying that phrase, game changer, but it kind of is. Kind of like 9/11 and the 2008 recession that come to mind. Those were some big kind of global events that kind of, things were a little different afterwards, and I think this is one of them too. The big reason is just this, right? Of how disruptive this has been, with how damaging this has been, both in terms of lives and economy and jobs and everything. You cannot, the world can't let this happen again, right? But it's virus, and so that is a problem. Some people have been saying that this could become a seasonal thing, and just like we have flu season every year, we could have corona season every year. Now, I'm not a big biomedicine expert guy, but that seems plausible and feasible. Coronavirus is not new. Strands of corona type viruses have been around for a very, very long time. This just happened to be one that was pretty bad and pretty damaging. Where it came from is another video. I have suspicions, but anyway. I told you I wouldn't be doing April 1st video. Maybe I should, but I don't know. No, that's a good idea. Stay tuned. But you just can't let this happen again, right? And so anytime going forward that there's another, like a swine flu, a bird flu, right? One of those viruses with the weird names, going to be taken a lot more seriously. And I think you'll see governments really jump out ahead of those things, be very aggressive in trying to find and isolate and lock down and quarantine those to stop them from becoming the big pandemic that we're seeing now. Because again, you cannot afford to go through this every year, every day. We can't do this again. It is just too much. So I think you'll see, again, governments being a lot more aggressive when it comes to viruses like these. A lot more money probably put into detecting these things early, combating these, new techniques, new technologies to try and make sure, like I said, that governments can protect themselves because they're getting hurt by this extremely badly from any more viruses breaking out. Speaking of technology, and I think I talked about this in a video earlier, because all the social distancing, because large groups is a no-no right now. It's putting a lot of strain on like the supply system. Things like truck drivers and stock shelvers and doctors and nurses. There's some really crucial positions in like our supply chains that are a lot more vulnerable than maybe we thought. And so what I think we're going to see is a real big push after this for automation AI, drones, robot, whatever you want to call them. But I would not be surprised to see a lot of self-driving trucks, which, I mean, they already have a lot of the stuff already. They just got to kind of get it kind of consumer ready, more socially acceptable. That's not the right word, but ready for prime time. So anyway, I think in about 5 years, you're probably going to see a lot of self-driving trucks on the road. I wouldn't be surprised to see some kind of drone or robot or whatever new name they'll have for these things in your Walmart stocking shelves all night long, right? Because again, they have machines that can do that now. Drones maybe for deliveries. Amazon also is crumbling from the strain. There's so much online shopping going on now, and the workers are frail and they're getting sick and they get exhausted. So you're going to see a lot more robots in the warehouse, a lot more automation of delivering online packages, which I guess is good. It would make the supply chain stronger, but the economic impact, truck drivers is like the number one profession in the United States. That keeps more, I think, that one job keeps more people employed than anything else. And if those truck drivers start losing their jobs, what are they going to do, right? If you're a high school graduate or looking for a summer job and you can't go get a job at the grocery store because there's a robot or maybe the carts return themselves to the grocery store, right? Or maybe there's, the robot owl who's stocking the shelves and they only need one of them or something like that, right? So what's going to happen to that? Going into the next thing, economic impact. 2008 saw a lot of downsizing with businesses, cutting things down to the bare bone and still staying profitable and operational. And a lot of that was sticky. And a lot of businesses kind of learned that, they can go without excess, right? I think now, and again, we're seeing it already, a lot of transition now to a big push towards working to home, right? Big offices, while still being a thing, are going to probably become less and less popular. I doubt we'll see more of them than we had before. And being able to work at home is going to be a big money saver. It's going to be a big advantage. It's going to reduce overhead for a lot of these corporations and stuff like that. So I think even more than in 08, I think it's going to accelerate and we'll see a lot more positions and jobs, maybe ones we never even thought you could do at home, people doing it at home, right? Being in education, I would not be surprised to see e-learning and remote learning and homeschooling and online classes. They're already getting a huge put. I mean, everything is remote learning now, but I think some of that is going to stick. You're going to have a lot of kids maybe who end up liking it, a lot of kids who might excel at this different type of pace. And, kids will still go back to school. We'll still have schools, but, I think it's going to be more acceptable to learn at home and to do the remote e-learning, stuff like that. But again, what happens to those people who lose their jobs? What happens to those truck drivers? Next segue is the economics of this, right? And this has been a long time coming. I've been a big living in fear of the day that the robots come and take all of our jobs. They've been predicting it for, I don't know, the last century, but I think that time is finally here, and Corona is just accelerating it. So what happens to all those people? Like I said, there's just no jobs available because these robots and machines are taking over a lot of those tasks that that they never were able to before. There's a lot more competition in the workplace. We could see some type of maybe universal basic income, Yang bucks, Trump bucks, whatever you want to call it. Raise your hand if you were surprised that the government is actually bailing out the American citizen during this crisis. Yeah, for real, right? And first of all, that kind of signifies how bad things are and just kind of maybe how far we've come. And heck, maybe Andrew Yang was really convincing in all those debates of his. He's probably the biggest loser in all this because his one issue is gone now. The government co-opted it. But we may see more stimulus checks. more government handouts, because they're just the economy may not be able to sustain all the people that we have living under it now. So, as I've told my students for years, when you go and you graduate high school, when you get into the workforce, be useful, have a skill, a trade, something that is robot insulated, because they're coming for real this time. They're taking your jobs, and if you aren't useful, if you don't have some kind of skill, you're not going to be able to find a job. As a teacher, I would be surprised, maybe not in 5 years, 10, 15 years from now, my job is not eliminated, but very different from what it is because of technology. So that's a big change, which again, we're seeing now, and I think is probably going to be around in some way or some form. Universal basic income, government handouts, whatever. I don't know if that's good or bad, probably a little bit of both. But I think the government was very quick to bail out people this time around. And something else I hear people talking about is digital dollars, right? I guess a lot of Americans don't have bank accounts, or maybe they don't have an address we can't mail a check out to. And so I don't think it passed, but there's a lot more serious talk now with that stimulus package they passed about a digital dollar. Basically, online currency that we can just deposit into an American's bank account. They can never really withdraw it, I don't think. I don't know. It's all speculation, but the Congress is seriously talking about this now. And I would not be surprised if in the future, maybe if in 5 years or so, we'd get some kind of crypto dollar, right? I'm a big crypto proponent. If you've seen some of my other videos, this is going to be very different. This is kind of, crypto does not want to be government backed in any way, but I think it might be. I think it could be good for cryptocurrency. Is this whole idea of online internet money becomes more standardized, becomes more acceptable, and we may see other currencies as well rise in acceptability as more people say, yeah, well, if the government's doing it, maybe I'll do it. I don't know. We'll see on the acceptability side of crypto, but a digital U.S. dollar in other countries following suit could be a thing we see coming. It's just a way to get more money to people. But again, another segue, expect some crazy inflation in the future, right? All this money that we're printing and throwing at this pandemic, heaven forbid it happens again. We got to go round two. But you're going to see a lot. The debt is already an issue. It's going to get worse. Inflation is going to get worse. And again, I'll say that, cryptos, like your Bitcoins and stuff, are protected against that. They are inflation proof. You can't inflate Bitcoin because of the way it's structured. Watch my other videos or anyone else's video to see why. But I think inflation, while bad for everybody else, is long-term going to be good for cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins and stuff like that. Any other crazy predictions for the future? Jobs, economy, crypto, just life in general, right? We'll still go to sports events. We'll still go to, your weddings and things like that. But like I said, taking these viruses a lot more seriously, and so I think it might be a lot more common now to have mini quarantines, right? Hopefully nothing, this is tricky. This is really conditional. But if you ever see a hint that maybe, like I said, someone is sick or there's something spreading somewhere, you may be very quickly seeing the government lock the whole place down, right? Like just clamp the shell, nothing gets in, nothing gets out, and maybe, just to stop really, really aggressive micro quarantines in these hot spots, not shutting everything down. But again, we're so connected and globalized now. Maybe this is impossible, but they won't be so slow to pull like the quarantine trigger, right? And who knows? Maybe this is just a thing we have to live with and accept now. Shelter in place is part of your yearly routine. I don't know. We all go into hibernation a couple months of the year. Hope not. But like I said, quarantine's going to be a lot more common, I think, going forward. Because again, you just can't risk. You just can't risk it. Oh, last thing I wanted to say is schools, businesses, government. This is kind of a no-brainer, but after this calms down, you're going to see a lot more pandemic plans taken seriously at work. So if this does happen, they'll already know how to deal with it. This is kind of good practice, I guess, learning on the fly how to deal with these things. But you'll see a lot of planning and preparation, and maybe even in the future you'll be going to some pandemic trainings, so you'll know what to do for your job or business in times of quarantine and social distancing, right? But a lot of businesses developing plans, and hey, failed entrepreneur, if you can come up with a business that can, regulate, or if you could observe and rate and train and help companies practice their social distancing, quarantining, hey, there's a big market for that, man. You can make a lot of money. So look into that, right? Social distancing quarantine advisor. There you go. There's a new job title for you. But I think that's probably a no-brainer. And things like from sports teams, what are the hotels? Can't think of. It's early in the morning. I gotta drink my coffee, right? Convention centers, stuff like that. You're gonna see a lot more planning and cancellations of those things, possibly as these pandemics maybe not become the norm, but stay fresh in people's minds, right? And worried and scared of that. So anyway, just some thoughts, looking into my crystal ball. Could be totally wrong. Hopefully I am on a lot of those. We just go back to everything is normal. But like I said, I don't see that happening, because this is just too big of a shock to the system. And it's been way, way too damaging. And this is all about prevention and trying to stop this from happening again and getting so kind of out of control, right? A lot of countries, a lot of people drop the ball on this. And we can't let it happen again. So that's all for today. I got stuff to do. I know you do too. Failed entrepreneur, and I will catch you later.